Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Future of Retail podcast. I'm Sneha John, a brand marketer by profession, having worked in some of India's biggest consumer tech and media companies. In this podcast, I will be talking to thought leaders in the Indian retail space to unpack all the quick action that's happening in the industry. We will discuss consumer and retailer trends, as well as survival guides and cheat sheets for sellers to thrive in this ever-evolving ecosystem. Today, we will be speaking to Vivek Lohcheb about the rapidly evolving retail industry and what are some of the key challenges as well as solutions for offline retailers. Vivek is the CEO of Pincode, a hyperlocal e-commerce app by PhonePe. Before Pincode, Vivek headed the offline business at PhonePe and was responsible for growing its merchant network to nearly 40 million merchants. There was a recent LinkedIn article which talked about how PhonePe is one of the 3 brands that you will find in every hill station in the country, along with Maggie and Coke. Vivek and his team have been responsible for building this out. Welcome, Vivek. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you, Sneha.
So, Vivek, the retail industry has been evolving in the country at a breakneck speed, and consumer trends have also been changing. What are some of your takes on what is currently unfolding in the industry? Some of the trends, key takeaways with regards to where you think the industry is headed?
I will have to break this into different segments of how verticals are doing in this space. So let me start with the top, which is the most mature segment. So if you consider mobile and consumer electronics, that is the segment or that is the vertical which actually is in mature stage in terms of where e-commerce, how much e-commerce is penetrated into this particular segment. So if you see, this is the first one that started getting digitized way back with Flipkart and Amazon coming into play. It's more than a decade now. So at this stage, I think penetration of e-com is in the range of more than 40%. Now the e-com growth is in the same ballpark as the industry is growing. So which is offline and e-com, both are growing at a similar pace because of the fact that penetration is that much now. So other 2 segments I'll pick up will be fashion and food. I will count them as in growth phase. If you see, the e-com penetration in these segments is in the range of 10 to 15%. And they are in growth phase, considering that both of them are still growing at about 25 to 30%. The third segment, which is what I believe is in nascent stage in comparison, that's pharma and the behemoth of all is daily essentials. Grocery, I mean, grocery is a loose word. If you see within this segment, I'm counting on everything which is staples, fruits and vegetables, poultry, pet supplies. All these are kind of daily essentials. So this is the segment which is still well underpenetrated, which is in the range of about 1 to 2%. And there is a hyper growth that is happening, and that will continue to happen for a while now. So right now at this stage, the penetration in grocery segment is in the range of about 1.5%. Growth is upwards of 40%. There's a lot that is unpacking in this particular segment.
So, despite such a lot of players in the grocery space, what is your take on why you feel grocery is still fairly underpenetrated, or are we on the cusp of it getting into the growth stage like how fashion and other categories have moved?
So if you see, pre-COVID, there were 2-3 players like Flipkart, Amazon, Big Basket. These were the players which existed in this segment. Pace at which they would deliver would be next day mostly, or slotting. So it was like timely delivery. But if you look at the customer expectation in this segment, which is more immediate in nature in comparison to other segments which I was talking about, which is fashion, which is electronics, people are willing to wait for a day or a 2. But in grocery, the competition is with the nearest possible store that you have. I mean, if you step out, you'll be able to buy it and fulfill your stock up purchase and everything within an hour or 2. If you go pre-COVID, the penetration was not even this much. Penetration was 0.5%. And then quick commerce came in. Quick commerce was, by the virtue of the fact that they were able to deliver obviously much faster than the even customer expectation. Yeah. So they were, and they are delivering between 10 to 20 minutes, depending on where you're located. But the fact is that they were able to cater to that need of the customer in this segment, which is more immediate in nature. That is what completely transformed grocery e-commerce, particularly. By the virtue of these players, which came into quick commerce, grocery e-commerce has been growing upwards of 200% in last few years. And now, in grocery e-commerce, the contribution of quick commerce is already, which was non-existent few years back, is in the range of 45%. And it is still growing at 100% rate. So that, I believe, is what is transforming this. And basis the assessment and basis what I'm hearing, at this pace, by 2030, grocery e-commerce penetration will be similar to what you see in food services. It will be in the range of 8 to 10%. So a lot is happening in this space. Yeah.
So there's essentially three players here. There is quick commerce, which has just come up. There is the traditional e-commerce, which is your big baskets and how Amazon Fresh and Flipkart is currently playing out. And then there's also the offline sellers. So how do you see the interplay playing out between the three of these partners in the ecosystem? And where do you see it going?
The way it is transforming, quick commerce has found a product market fit, and as I said, it's growing upwards of 100%, still growing. Started as grocery as the anchor point because that is where there was white space. But quick commerce no more is just grocery.
Yeah.
I think, and the biggest thing that is happening is while there's a product market fit, while the customer demand is exponentially increasing, the viability is still in question in terms of whether this business model will be viable.
Yeah.
Customers are liking
The proposition.
liking the proposition. So that's already there. So if you go forward, what I see is, and some players are already doing it, they're extending the catalog or the selection that is available to them, which was 3 to 5,000 just a couple of years back. Now it is already in the range of 6,000 to 8,000 SKUs that they are keeping. That itself has increased the average order value from between 400 to 500 to upwards of 600 now. And that is what is making this viable. Now, on one side, quick commerce guys are increasing their selection. On the other side, these players like Amazon, Flipkart and all are increasing their speed. And something that we are already seeing last week or so itself, two of these companies have already kind of announced the arrival of quicker commerce, not really quick enough yet. But I think both these players are converging to a similar point where there will be a sufficient amount of selection and acceptable speed, which is quicker than it was. May not be as quick as 10 to 15 minutes. Eventually, I see it converging between 30 to 60 minutes. Now there is a third player,
Yeah.
which is the biggest,
The most important player.
important one, which is the biggest offline players, which still contribute to 92% of commerce, by
Yeah.
the way. So there is something that they'll have
They
to
also
do.
have product market fit.
Exactly. Yeah. So now with these players, what I see is, and it's already you can see with some progressive guys, the omni-channel play is coming in. Omni-channel has two phases. One is unstructured omni-channel, another is structured. Players like Lenskart and all these guys, Nykaa, these guys are online first and then they got into offline. But there are players which are offline like JioMart and all, like Jio stores, which now they have launched JioMart. So now both put together. Now interesting, they had the selection, they had the price. What they didn't have was the convenience of online buying. So there, it's not about the selection or the speed because they are located in proximity. What they need to provide is the availability of online buying. So eventually, all three cohort of, I would say, players are kind of converging into the same space to cater to the need of new age customers.
So how is this ecosystem shift really affecting offline retailers? What are some of the things that you've heard from the ground?
Okay, so uh, eventually, see, we have to understand that retail is a zero-sum game. So if some players are winning, some are losing. And I'll take an example of what happened to mobile and consumer electronics industry. For the longest time, there were multiple players. It was, you could see some regional players, you could see some national players. Now, with increasing e-com penetration, eventually a lot of small players were not able to survive, and eventually consolidation happened in that space. So now if you see the number of customers who actually go to offline, they have very few options for buying mobiles. I mean, now there's just Chroma, then there is I think local players like Sangeeta and all. There are very few in comparison to what used to be, right? So similarly, I believe the pace at which e-com is growing in these segments is also going to lead to a similar effect, because the viability of offline stores comes from the footfall and the density of customers that come into shop every day. That is, I mean, last week itself there was an article where Retail Association of few states published the fact that offline stores are degrowing by 10 to 60% in certain pockets, which kind of highlights the fact that it's already happening. Uh, so I believe at some stage it will start to manifest in some kind of consolidation. And the progressive guys, obviously, the way it happened in other industry verticals, will survive because they will shape up into catering to new age customers' need.
Got it. We already see some merchants actually delivering on WhatsApp, or they definitely are aware. So, but do you feel like they're receptive to the change? Are they being pushed to a space where they have to adapt?
Uh, okay, I would have met more than 50 merchants, small and mid-sized, and even in fact large ones also. I have not come across any seller who doesn't realize that it's happening. So I mostly see, not, or rather 100% believe that it's happening, but only 5 to 10% sellers are reacting at the pace they should realize that actually it's happening so fast. 90% are figuring out semi methods to be able to compete with these players, which are new age players, dark store led commerce. I believe they need to act much faster, because I think the pace at which it is happening, they are not realizing the extent of it. They do believe it's happening, but the pace, I think they still have to internalize. I think it's happening much faster than they believe.
Got it. Like you mentioned, I think you mentioned a 60% decline in terms of number of footfalls, etc. So there's clearly numbers and enough information to show that the ground is really shifting. So as per you, what are some of the top tips or mindset shifts that local retailers should take now to be able to adapt in this evolving ecosystem?
See, at the end of the day, what does a customer need? Customer need a wide selection to be able to build their cart. Second, competitive pricing. Third, convenience of buying online. Fourth, home delivery. More customers need home delivery now. Fifth, the time. Time has like multiple factors. One is the speed at which you deliver. Second is the time at which you are getting the orders and all that. Slots, everything, right? So let me start from the top. Selection, I believe. So there are certain things which are the offline retailer's strength. Selection and price is two of those factors. They already have wide selection. They understand what customers' needs are in that particular locality. This is their strength. They have a very strong supply chain, which gives them the power of offering competitive prices, right? So these two things are there, I believe, even better at, right, in comparison to other players, online players. Now comes ability, or rather, them being able to cater to the need of ordering from home. They are doing it in an unstructured environment, which is you call, you send texts on WhatsApp and all. They are able to cater to that need, right? Which, by the way, is a big one, big change from few years back. But at the same time, I don't think that will be sufficient, considering the fact that customers today have much better alternatives to be able to browse, to be able to search, all those things, right? So these three things, kind of two particularly being very good at, one I think they can get better at. There are two things that I believe completely are missing, which they will need to really work at. I'll start with reliability. Reliability is multi-dimensional word that I'm using here. Reliability starts with one, if I order, I should get it, right? You can't cancel the order. You can't tell me that this product is not there. If you're telling me that this was there, then you can't cancel it later because there's a cart buying behavior, right? If you cancel one product or two products in the order, then I'm not satisfied with that quality of buying, right? And then second, uh, when you pick and pack and send it to home, right? It can't be wrong product. It can't be cancelled. It can't be wrong product, and the predictability that if you're telling me that it will come in 2 hours, it better come in 2 hours. It need not be coming in 10 to 15 minutes, but the predictability of deliver speed matters. By the way, I'm not taking anything away from speed, but 10 to 15 minutes is not really the deal breaker. Predictability of speed is very important. Now comes the fifth part, which is as a customer, and especially in top 25, 30 cities, my expectation is that even if I want to order a little late in the evening, I should be able to order because I have the alternatives. If I want to order, or if I want my order to be delivered slightly early in the morning, that facility should be available. So these are the 2, 3 things that I believe they will need to get better at. When I spoke about cancellations, right? If an order comes, the biggest thing that actually I believe they need to get better at is the inventory management, which is if uh, I'm showing something to be available in the store, it better be available. Otherwise, there will be cancellation, and as a customer, that quality of buying is not. So inventory management. So they'll have to invest more in inventory management. They'll have to invest more in enabling and training the store staff so that they are able to pick the right products. Then I will believe that actually the biggest thing would come from the fact that they will have to respect the online consumer as much as they respect the offline consumer, because at times what I've seen early on in this journey is a lot of sellers believe that if the order has come from online, it's not my customer. They will not care that much about the quality of product they're packing, the expiry rate, multiple things, the way they pack, everything. So everything that they do actually for offline. So they know how to do. I think if they start respecting online consumers that much, and mind you, online customer is even more demanding than offline, because in offline they are there at the shop, they are able to kind of cater to the any breakages or anything like that, right? In online world, it's even more demanding because you'll have to accept the fact that there are these competitors who are taking away your share and they're taking away your customers. So there is a minimum expectation of experience, right? And all this put together stitches what is needed for them to be able to compete. So there are strengths and there are development areas. I think they'll have to play on their strength, and they'll have to really keep working at I believe these things that are breaking in this space. Okay, so having explained the strengths and the development areas, I believe now there are two options. They'll obviously have to, I think, do better than just enabling their customers to order on WhatsApp or on phone call. I think the experience that they expect is much better. So now there are two options. One is that they develop their own seller platform slash their own app, website, all those things. And there are companies which are enabling. So there are a lot of players like that which are in the market to enable these, digitize these stores, create an app for them. And then there are marketplaces, players like Pincode, which are enabling the same thing for them. I think with these two, both these options, I think they will have to play at these to be able to cater to that customer need.
Got it. So between building out their own omni-channel ecosystem versus and partnering with an aggregator, what do you think are some of the advantages, disadvantages of both of these?
Something that I realized after speaking to some of these sellers, people who have already created their own app. building an app or a platform is just 10% of the problem. The real problem or real test actually starts after that, because that's something that you have already outsourced. But what happens is, once you digitize the store, acquiring the customer, retaining the customer, giving that experience to the customer is what's the hard part. That is where most sellers falter at, because it's not just cost, by the way. Cost is obviously the biggest one. 90% of the cost is beyond building the app or the platform. Uh, yeah, it is customer acquisition. It's pretty expensive. And that belief, and something that obviously people realize only after doing it, that belief that a customer who's coming to my shop is a captive customer, not true. Not true. The expectation of that customer from online experience point of view is far evolved. So that ability to acquire that customer even when they come to your shop and retain them on your online platform is just so expensive. It's I mean, you realize only after you do it, right? Additional part is, doing this requires a different DNA. I mean, tech DNA, being able to create that kind of experience on the app. A lot of sellers have kind of shared that feedback with me, and we are working with those guys on their own platform. People, their sellers who were doing only 15 orders, 20 orders, at max 30 orders per store, now they are doing more than 2,500 orders per day with our platform. That is where it completely changes the game. So my suggestion would be that they have to play at their strengths, which is what I called out earlier. They exactly understand the supply chain. They have really been at it and really solved that, right? They have the warehouse, which is the store. They have customer trust. So that's their strength. They have the quality product that they bring to the table. So on the other side, a player like Pincode, which is a PhonePe product, so we have a large cohort of customers. So just to kind of help you understand, uh, there are about 70 crore smartphone users in the country, and UPI users are already more than 50 crore. So we have already gotten down to that level, and PhonePe itself has more than 25 crore active users on our applications. We will be able to kind of add value to our customer life by telling them that they can transact with their favorite stores through application called Pincode. At the same time, we will enable these sellers by telling customers in the vicinity and customers who come to their shop anyway, and we have the tech DNA to create that kind of experience that is expected, or that is, I believe, will be competitive with the current players that are into play. Yeah, that too at scale. And so while they work with their strength, which is the selection, the prices, and everything else, we can create the demand for them. And put together, I think there is a collective win here. We collectively can take on any player in the market. So that's what I believe. I think marketplaces, players like Pincode, they should partner up with, play on their strength, and work with partners like us.
Yeah, even as a consumer, right? Like you would always want to opt for a marketplace because I can buy from this big store or this big store, as opposed to should I download an app of one big store. So I think it definitely offers more selection, which is one of the key decision makers for a consumer as well.
See, let me add to that. India, it's obviously a new thing, but rapidly accelerating the pace of in terms of penetration. But worldwide, if you see, there are different markets: China, America, everywhere. Customers need variety. Customer needs option. Any single, I would say, retailer app has not worked well at a worldwide level. While there are marketplaces, even in US and in China, similarly sized market, I would say, there it's the marketplaces which kind of are able to create the demand. Take it, for example, even in offline environment. Let me take another analogy here. As a customer, you would prefer to go to a mall which offers different options for you in the same category, or you would prefer going to a particular marketplace, like there is a furniture market, there is this market, right? There are different markets. As a customer, I want to go there. So being ability to acquire and retain customers by giving just one option is just counterintuitive. As a marketplace, the kind of demand we can create, I think, will be much larger than any single player acquiring and retaining those customers themselves.
So this is very clearly a burgeoning problem for sellers and local retailers. I'm really curious to understand, how did PhonePe and Pincode decide to pick up this problem and solve this for sellers?
Yeah, it's been a journey. And if you go back, I think we started this about 6 years back. Uh, when we started digitizing sellers for payments, and it was a big leap. If I remember correctly, there were only very few merchants in the market which were accepting digital payments. The fact that we have been able to do so is we have digitized closer to 40 million sellers, and so it's just one step in that journey. If you go back to our vision, which was Karte Ja Badhte Ja, I believe the idea is to kind of be able to enable these guys beyond payments. So on one side, what we have done is we have enabled digital lending for these guys. They will be able to take structured loan. Earlier, they were not able to do so because they were unbanked, or they didn't have enough transactions flowing into digital transactions flowing into that. So we have been able to do that. So that is second leg to our journey. Now, third is that we enable digital payments for you. We enable you to get structured loan, which is much better, much more seamless at much better rates. Third is enable you to grow your business. So this kind of is a step in that journey to be able to enable our sellers to be able to compete in the new age environment when the customers' expectations are changing. So yeah, so that's I believe that's something that will be the biggest thing that we would land up providing to our sellers, that we digitize some time back.
Got it. So it was a natural next step: digitize payments and then digitize business. Very nice. Um, so there have been players who've actually tried out the pin code model before, but a lot of them have actually pivoted to the dark store model. Is that something that pin code would ever consider?
If you see our journey is the fact that we want to enable these offline sellers or D2C guys, different segments, right? Uh, the reason with which we have come into this is the fact that we have laid out two-sided network. We have large cohort of consumers who use PhonePe app, and similarly we have large cohort of merchants who use our devices or who use our QR. The idea has come from the fact that we have those both-sided network, and idea is to enable commerce between the two. Stores was something that we had introduced on PhonePe app. So if you as a consumer are opening PhonePe app, you could actually find and engage with the sellers in the proximity. So that was one step that we had done, and we saw a great validation in terms of how many consumers were interacting with how many sellers. But the need came from the sellers that can you enable commerce between us, and this pin code is a next step in that journey. So one is, this is the reason why we kind of came into play. Second are the fact that maybe 3-4 years back, if we had tried this, or maybe 5 years back we had tried this, and multiple players did, then we I would have been doubtful about the success, or the conviction may not have been that much. Now at this stage, when sellers themselves are realizing the fact that customers are going away, our interaction, our engagement with the sellers, the biggest reason why all those players which tried this model failed was the fact that sellers were not aligned.
Who are the most important
Yeah.
player in the
They are the backbone of this
business?
business, right? They have to make sure they are the supply chain, they are the fulfillment centers, they have the quality controls in play. So all those things come into play. There are few things that obviously they will have to do additionally, but more or less the need and the conviction is coming from the sellers. That gives me the confidence that once we enable them, when they are hungry, when they believe that this is something that it's no more an option, right? I believe the conviction of being able to turn this around now is much more than what any other player may have had 5 years back or 10 years back. And that's where we are.
Got it. So you believe the timing is right and we have the best intentions of all the partners in the ecosystem.
Exactly.
Got it. So Vivek, what is your vision for PinCode? When do you think you will rest that, you've solved the problem that you've set out to solve?
By the end, I would say the vision is that we would be the biggest hyperlocal commerce company in the country.
Thanks a lot, Vivek, for taking the time out to speak to me. It was a really insightful conversation. I'm sure it'll be very helpful for the sellers and retailers who are actually trying to figure out ways in which they can adapt in today's changing environment. So thank you.
Thank you, Sneha. Very exciting times.
Yes.
A lot to
Indeed.
do. Yeah, thank you.
If you've stuck with us so far, then thank you. Please do let us know any thoughts or questions you may have in the comments below. If you liked this episode, please do share this video. Thank you.